everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Susan Gooch, a Southern storyteller and author of the Carrington series, known for writing powerful stories about strong women, friendship, and second chances. After years as an educator, she transitioned into full time writing, turning her love for storytelling into a new chapter of purpose and creativity. Susan, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to get the opportunity to talk to you today.
All right, so yeah, a quick heads up, we are diving into your 20s.
Well, I do love to talk about my books, so thank you for having me on to do that.
All right, so yeah, talking about your foundation, right? Can you take us back to your 20s? What were your dreams back then? And did you always see yourself becoming a writer?
I think that part of me, maybe in the deepest part of my heart, always wanted to be a writer because I loved reading so much. And I did get a degree in English. I loved, I got my degrees actually in writing, but I had every intention of going to law school. When someone say, "What are you going to do?" I would say, "I'm going to be an attorney." I like to argue and I like to, that's what I'm going to do. So, that was the plan right up until I had a baby. I got married to my high school sweetheart that I met on a blind date at 16. At 20 and at 22, I had a child, and somebody had to be the mama. So I kept putting law school on the back burner. And then I had a second child, and then I had a third child. And, law school became a dream that was. And it was okay because I loved being the mama. And my husband was traveling and building his career, and we were moving every couple of years around the world. We lived in Memphis, we lived in Dallas, we lived in London, England. And so then we moved to Arkansas, and we were just moving and building his career. And my focus was my children. And so I was so grateful that I had not gone to law school and had to put that away. I just always focused on my kids. But in all of that, reading was so important to me, and I read always through all of those years. And I even wrote a few books that were just for me, stories that would come to me, and I wrote three books down. They're still somewhere in this house in a box, just handwritten out stories that were for me, that were for anybody. But that's how it was in my 20s. That's what I saw for myself in my 20s. I would be an attorney, and then it just became to be a good mother and to raise my children. So that was my dream in my 20s.
All right, wow. Talking about being a good mother and raising children, you've built a life around family, teaching,
Mhm.
and also now writing. So, how important is it for people, young adults to think beyond just career success?
Oh, that is a great question because I think, at least for myself and even for my own daughter, I have a daughter who is an attorney because I was determined that she was getting that law degree. And she did. She's a great attorney. But I think for family is so important to me. Both my parents and Harold, my husband's mother, they all moved to Tennessee, to here from Tennessee to Arkansas to be with us. His mother has since passed. All three of my children grew up in this little town of Searcy where I set my stories. They went off in the world. They did their education, they did their training, and they came back to Searcy. And they have married, and now they're building their families here. So I get to see my children, my grandchildren, my parents every day if I want to, and very often do. And so we are very much, we all live within about less than 2 miles of each other. So for me, family is very important, and it's very important in my stories because that's our heritage. No one is an island unto themselves, as John Donne would say. We are part of a community, and our first community is our family. And then we take that family and then we build to our family, the people that we choose to bring into our family, friends and love, people that we marry and the people our children marry. So that community grows that way, our churches. So for me, family is it's just like breathing, and you have to have it. it's my foundation. I'm their support, they're my support.
Right. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for that one. So, Susan, I want us to go to your book, right? You wrote
Okay.
the Carrington series, and it's actually known for powerful stories about, friendship, strong women, and second chances. So, I'd love to know your take on friendship and being a strong woman.
Well, I would say that women need other women.
Mm,
You need a strong community of women around you to support you. Um, that's very important to me. So I have one sister, I'm very close to, but I have several friends that I feel like are sisters. And
mm,
here in this community that I live in, I've lived here now for 25 years. I taught with women that were like sisters with me. I have these lifelong friendships now that I just think that is so important for women to carry that. Yes, my husband is my best friend, and we have been together almost
mm,
40 years. But I need the support of them so that I can support him. And I felt that from my mother. I try to give that to my daughters and my daughter-in-laws to be there. And it's hard. Raising children is so hard. No
mm,
one ever, I had to I tell my middle son this not too long ago. I said, um, there are no perfect people. There are no perfect parents. There are no perfect kids. But there was not a single day as your mother where I got it right all day long. But there wasn't a single time that I wasn't doing my best. I was giving you the best of me I had. And some days that's better than others. And so when I couldn't, I needed that support of other women to help me do that, whether it be a sister, a mother, a good friend. And that's what I see so important in my books. My friendships, you're right. We talk about Jules and Taylor's friendship, and how they support each other in this book. Then we talk about part of why Poppy, I think, in the book gonna goes off. She's the writer character. She doesn't have that stabilizing female friendship that kind of helps her. She kind of feels like she's on her own. And but then she finds a friend in New York, and I just feel like friendship really is that gift that we get from the Lord that helps us and anchors us to become better people and to care for other people. Because our best version of ourselves is when we're doing for others, and our friends help us
yeah.
do that as well.
All
Um,
right. Wow.
I was going to tell you, I've mentioned that I loved how much I love being a mother. And I thought I might tell you, if you're interested, how I became a teacher because I didn't go to school to be a teacher. Would you like to hear that?
Definitely.
So my middle son had learning disabilities and he was not learning. And it was very clear to me that the teachers had no idea how to help him learn. No, they weren't, it wasn't they weren't trying, they just didn't know what to do and it wasn't working. And so I had this fear that maybe he wouldn't make it through school and I would have to teach him and be home and homeschool him, which I think there's a lot of value to homeschooling, but I think you need to know what you're doing and you need to be a certified teacher to do it. My own mother was a certified teacher, and when I'm dyslexic and when I couldn't learn to read, my mother's training as a reading specialist taught me how to read and she worked with me, and so it changed the direct trajectory of my life. It's what how I became such an avid reader. It's how I became a teacher. It's how I was able to go to college. It's how I was able to write novels. And so I wanted that training for myself. So I actually started teaching and got a master's in reading, administration, and gifted and talented because I fell in love with education. Now, my son graduated from high school, he was fine, but I found my calling in the classroom. And what I found is um, I absolutely adore sharing my love of reading and writing with young people because when you can teach a kid, because all teenagers, I typically taught 11, 12, 13-year-old kids. They're growing and they're learning and they're hitting hormones and they don't always know how to find their voice or to be heard. And so when you can teach them the skills to communicate how they're feeling and to understand that, hey, you can read about it. You can write about what you're reading. You can understand yourself better through reading. You can then write something to share how you're feeling and to be seen by the world. It changes them. And so that was something that I became very, very passionate about for many years was teaching young people how to find their voice and to develop a skill set that would let them do that.
All right, wow. So, being an educator actually helps influence the way, you write and connect with your audience, actually. Okay. All right. So, talking about consistency and discipline, you read over 150 books a year. That's a lot. So, what does that level of, consistency teach about growth and mastery?
That's a really great question. I would tell you, as a reading specialist, even I have to, even though I read a lot, I have to still challenge myself. If, when athletes work out, they have to constantly continue to build muscle, maybe do a little bit more weight, do different exercises. You can't just do the same old thing. Your body will not get any better. And so the brain is the same way. And so for me, my first love really is contemporary family drama, romance type of writing. But I find that I'm most challenged when maybe I go back and read a classic. I read the classics in college. I feel like I really built a good foundation in reading and learning how to read every day. And I do read every day. Um, but then I will make myself read maybe a nonfiction book about self-help. What is something I need to learn about? What's something that someone in my family or friend group is experiencing that I could read about? Because the information available to us today is endless. So if someone has an illness or someone has some mental health issues going on, what's something I can read and make myself better able and be, productive in how I talk to them or deal with them? So I read nonfiction. Probably the thing I struggle the most to challenge myself is science fiction and futuristic type of work. I don't think my brain works that way. And so that probably is my biggest struggle. But I do agree with you that we have to continue to do it. And I do track on my Goodreads. I track how many books I read every, am I ahead? Am I on track? Um, and I try to read, for me, 13 books a month. That's about my goal, is to read between 12 to 15. 13 is usually my sweet spot, books a month. And this sounds so crazy to people because I really love to read on my phone. I find that I can read the fastest on my phone. And
Wow.
I can read in the middle of the night. If I wake up and I go to the bathroom, I will take 20 minutes and read to go back to get myself back to sleep. I'm not sure the sleep experts would probably think that's the best way, but for me that works. Here's another place that I try to encourage people who say, I don't have time to read. And then I say, well, we all have the same 24 hours. So what is important to you? If you want to read, if that's something that's important to you, you have to make time for it. So it might be that when you're picking your child up or you're waiting at a bus, waiting for your bus, waiting, for a train, waiting somewhere, have your book handy. I carry books with me in my purse. I have them in my phone. I have them on my iPad. So that's a way that I can fill my day with some reading. Also, you know, I think for me, finding what you read and make sure it's feeding your soul. If you're, again, if you're having something that you're struggling with or, you have anxiety about, then read something that's positive. So for me, that's where my discipline comes is reading it and make sure I read every day, make sure I'm tracking it every day and trying to read different genres so that I don't just read, the same on a loop and not grow. So historical fiction, nonfiction, contemporary, classics all over.
All right, wow. While you speak about reading, I admire it so much. I admire you so much. But then I wouldn't say I'm not a reader, but I cannot read at the same frequency as you, right? You read a lot of books. So I would like to know, right? How would you advise someone who is a non-reader, or let's say someone who wants to start reading? How would you advise them to go into reading and even make it enjoyable, right?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that because as a reading specialist, as a teacher, I
Mm.
made sure that I understood we don't all come from the same thing. We have different ways that we view the world. So for me, I was lucky. I love that feeling that I get when I see a book. I got like if you want me to be my happy place, send me to a bookstore and give me 4 hours. I'm gonna walk out with 40 books and I got my
Wow.
next month planned. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
for some people that doesn't interest them. And So when I would have parents that would come in and their child was struggling and they'd say, well, he's just like me. He doesn't like to read and I don't like to read and I don't want to make him read because he's miserable when I make him read or make her read. And I would say, well, first of all, we have to stop the negative talk around reading. So we can't say, I hate reading or I don't like reading. Um, I understand that may be how you feel, but we have to change that narrative a little bit because we have to all read. I don't think there's a job in the world where you're not going to have to read and communicate something because the whole point of reading is that communication. So we all have to know how to communicate better. That's the world is a prime example right now of people not communicating very well. So first of all, let's start there. Whatever you do read, let's read a little bit more. Let's start with reading something. And for the ones that I would tell you the most reading adverse, like they really don't want to do it, I would say to them, find something that you enjoy. I don't care what it is. If it's knitting or if it's bike riding or if it's hiking or if it's video games or um, jokes, I don't care what it is. Now let's get a book on that subject because now we've already done two things. We've tied your interest to a book. And when you're interested in what's in the book, you're more interested in reading. So if you don't really intrinsically believe that what's on the page is going to value you or benefit you or entertain you, you're not going to invest in it, number one. So then number two, once we picked a topic or something that we're interested in, let's set a reading goal. A reading goal does not have to be a chapter. It doesn't even have to be a whole page. It might be 3 sentences. It might be, I had one kid, I mean, he really loved jokes. He loved to tell jokes. So I said, okay, let's get two joke books, two totally different joke books, mom and dad. You get a joke book, the kid gets a joke book. Read a joke a day and then tell it to each other.
Mm.
And what happens is, at the end of the joke, you laugh. And so what do? You start to change how you feel about reading. And then the next day, reread the joke you read the first day, but read a new joke. And what began to happen is you're reading pages and you're going to start wanting to know more jokes that are in the book. And, I'm not going to put a limit on how much you can read, but you only have to read one joke a day and reread the ones you've already read because you're going to read them really fast because what you're doing is you're building fluency and you're building your brain's ability to see those words more quickly. Um, and then from there, if you really want to become a good communicator, then you start teaching children, students how to take that information and quickly make notes. And, notes don't have to be any big complex thing. It could just be one word. It could be the topic of the joke and the punchline. Or it might be the punchline and how you felt when you told the joke, or who thinks the joke is the funniest. Because now you're tying the reading that what you've read to a life experience. Now you're taking it internally and you're thinking about what you've read. That's all I want people to do with books. That right there. That's it. So start small, but you have to start. And if you always say, well, I haven't read a book in 20 years, I don't care if you haven't read a book. Did you read a page? Start
Mm.
somewhere. Start small.
All right, start small. Okay. Thank you so much for that one, actually. I feel like I learned a lot from that, and I hope my listeners also will learn from it. So, right, this brings me to this question, my final question, actually. It's advice to the younger ones, but it'll be like advice to your younger self, right? So if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, what would you say about patience,
Ooh.
purpose, and trusting the journey?
Oh, wow, that's a great question too. I think life is a journey. You never arrive. You pass through stages. This too shall pass was something my granny used to say to me. Whatever it is, good or bad, this too shall pass. And that is so true. On the as I'm heading into my 60s, I feel like that everything I've done to this point has brought me here to be able to write these books. Um, in my book, one of my main characters is a teacher. I was able to write about that because I know what it takes to be a teacher. I have someone that lives in a small town and it's set because they're set in Cersei. I've lived here. I know what it's like to live here. I'm a member of a country club. I know what that's like. I know what it's like when, now I don't think that everything in the book I've experienced because I've never been divorced and, we've never had some of the issues that are in the book, but I have friends that have had them. And I've been that supportive friend that we talked about earlier that really had to see my friend going through it and help her and him deal with it, read those books, those self-help books about starting over after divorce. So those influenced my journey to be able to write these stories. And I think if I could go back to a young Susie, I would say, first of all, relax. It's going to be it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so often you do sprint through things in your life. I would also say don't compare yourself to others. We're all on our own journey. And I would have said have more confidence. I would think for me, I mentioned that I wrote books and I just left them in notebooks, in boxes. I didn't have the confidence to show someone what I was writing. I didn't have the confidence in my own um, reading and writing to be willing to share that with people. And I think part of what has built me to that point was, of course, obviously teaching and having taught children and helping children through their own writing journey, um, and understanding that when you share what you've written, it is like sharing your soul. It's bearing your soul and having a kindness to others that do that. And then also and being willing to ask for what you want. Say, please be kind with my written work. I usually joke when people buy my book or read my book, and I'll say, I would love for you, if you like it, to give me a review. And then I always jokingly say, but if you don't do anything. And I mean by that, if you really don't like it, you can always find something positive to say. But if you don't like it, maybe send me a message privately and tell me. Maybe I can do better because we want to do better, right? Like Maya Angelou,
Yes.
do the best you can until you can do better. So I would probably just tell myself it's gonna, just keep trying. Don't quit. It's not over. You can do it again. You can try, you can start over. It's never too late to start over. It's never too late for a second chance. As long as you keep trying, you can keep doing it. That was one of the things that in my classroom was a rule. When kids would write an essay or a short story or anything that they wrote, poem, whatever we were writing, it was never done. I never said to a student, you got an A, you got a B, you got a C, that's it. That's done. Like a test, you take a test, you get a score, you're done. No. You can rewrite. You could rewrite in my class as many times as you wanted. You could, I mean, the grade that you got was up to you. It was how much work are you willing to do? And I think that was really important because when kids realize I'm going to help you every step of the way. If you want to rewrite this a third time, a fourth time, I'm going to help you get it better and better and better. And I hope that for all educators that we understand that learning and is just in life, it's just a journey, and we've all got to help each other do better at every step of the journey.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much, Susan. It's okay. Like you said, it's important to know that learning is lifelong, actually. All right. So, yes, this was such a warm and insightful conversation, especially for young adults who are trying to, navigate purpose and their journey, actually. So, yeah, this brings me to the final segment of my podcast. It's called the rapid fire segment.
Okay.
All right, so starting now, your 20s are
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part. My 20s were for what?
for, you have to fill in the gap.
Oh, my 20s were for having children.
Okay, success is,
Success is continuing, not stopping. Keep breathing,
okay,
living, going forward, just trying. Success is trying.
okay, and growth requires
Work.
work. Okay, stories matter because,
They tell us who we are and they help us figure out where we want to go and how to get there.
okay, all right, consistency builds,
Uh, Success.
okay, all right, and purpose feels like,
I didn't hear the last part. I'm sorry.
purpose feels like,
Couples.
purpose.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Like purpose, Purpose.
Purples.
Yes, purpose, yes.
Spell it again.
Purpose.
Purpose. Purpose is got it. Purpose. Purpose is Your motivation, your purpose.
Wow.
It's what you're here for. What's your
Mm.
purpose? What are you here for? What's your why? It's your why.
All right. And education is,
A tool. It's just a tool, and it never ends.
wow. Okay. And finally, you are,
Whatever you want to be, and whoever you believe you are, as
okay.
long as you keep trying, you can be better.
Okay, so yes, that was amazing, Susan. And yeah, where can listeners get to, connect and explore your books and connect with you also?
Okay, so susangooch.com is my website. So you can find my books there. You can find them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. My on Instagram, I have a series that I do that's called Y'all Have to Read This. And y'all is a Southern word for you. So it'd be the same as if I said you have to read this, but we wouldn't say that here in the South. We'd say y'all. Y'all have to read this. And so I review books for people of all different genres. So that if you're in a book club, if you're looking for something, maybe you don't know where to start for a book and you're looking for something interesting to read, give me a look. I'm on Facebook, on all really social media platforms. I'm out there and I'm talking about different books you could try and look at into. So that would be the best place to look, check them out. And please, if you like books about strong women and not giving up, and the power of love, because both of these books are about the power of love, love for romantic love, family love, sisterhood love. It's all entwined in these books.
All right, okay. Yes, thank you so much, Susan. It has been amazing. And to my listeners, thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparks something in you, make sure to share to someone you think might need this and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Thank you, Susan. Do have a good day.
Thank you so much, Sekani. I really enjoyed talking to you today.
All right. And yes, I'm gonna see you right after this